Hi, folks. Welcome to the Prepared Homestead. This is Travis. Thank you all for stopping by to watch. It has turned out to be a beautiful day in the upper 50s. Next couple of days supposed to be, I think Tuesday, if I'm correct on this, Tuesday or Wednesday, they're talking about, low 70s, which is, hey, I'm okay with it for now, enjoying it. But I have a gut feeling that come spring and summer, we're going to be regretting not having much of a winter around here. This has been a very, very unusually warm winter. We've not had more than, I think we had almost an inch of snow at one point, that's ridiculous around here. We get several inches of snow typically a year. And so it's been a couple of dustings and that's it. A little bit of ice. And a little bit of cold. We had one little cold break for about a week, and then that's it. So it's not a good sign for those of us that kind of live according to what goes on in with the weather and stuff, because of growing and stuff, seasons and things like that. But we'll see. We'll take it what we can get and work with it. That's the whole point, or at least a big point, about being self-sufficient, about learning to homestead, learning to produce your own food, is you have to learn to work around the weather. It never works out for you. It never does. You're either planting too early, too late, storms coming in and knocking it down, getting too dry, too hot, too cold, too early, too late, too whatever it is. It's always something. And so that's why you need to be producing your own food as much as possible right now, every year, even if you don't have to, right? Even if you're not in a place right now that it's necessary to survive, you should be doing it, if no other reason, of just getting good at it. Because there's a little bit of an art and there's a little bit of science to it. Because it's not as simple as just throwing some seeds in the ground and expecting to harvest all the food that you need. You need to understand how to work with the weather. And I'd say this year is going to be a little different year when it comes to weather. I know I've been talking about this quite a bit lately, this whole Russia nuke, all that kind of stuff, but there's more in the news today. Germany has weighed in, saying that if Russia uses their nukes, uses this, space nukes that they're talking about, that it could destroy everything. It could just completely annihilate mankind. They've got to be really dramatic. Yeah, folks like myself, other YouTubers like me, we get poo-pooed for being overly dramatic and fear porn and, all this kind of fear-mongering stuff. Well, that's pretty much fear-mongering right there. Be ready, world, because if Russia uses their nukes, it will completely destroy all of humanity. I mean, that's not exactly what they're saying, but they're definitely alluding to it. There could be truth to all this stuff that Germany and other countries, the United States government, is pushing this narrative that Russia could just destroy us all. They could use their nukes. They could use EMPs in space, could knock us back to the Stone Age. We got to stop Russia. I mean, that's pretty much the narrative right now. And I think a lot of it is being done to try to get more spending to Ukraine. In fact, that's what the Russian government is claiming, that this is all a bunch of baloney, and it's just to get all of these countries to spend more money in Ukraine. But I also wonder if there's a little bit more to it. And I've said this before, that it could be that they're setting up a narrative, kind of setting Russia up so that maybe when one goes off or an EMP goes off, that they can blame Russia. And will it be Russia? We would never know. I can guarantee you we'd never know. But it could happen, right? I mean, there's been crazy other things that's happened over the last few decades that were blamed on people in far-off countries, that most of us have come to realize that it was not those people in far-off countries. It was probably our own people. So I wouldn't put it past them. I'm not claiming that that's exactly what's going to happen. I'm just saying I wouldn't put it past them. And I think that what it does show is that we are getting just that close. The narrative keeps building. They keep moving that ball further down the field, and we're getting closer to that time that something happens. All of their New World Order, green energy, World Economic Forum, Great Reset plans are in full motion, and they're trying to get the people on board with this. You know, this is bad stuff that's going on, so you have to trust us because there's all these bad actors out there that's just, they're going to destroy us. You know, the right wing, the Russians, the Chinese, the Iranians, they're all going to destroy us. And so we've got to hand over all of your rights, hand over your money, hand over your individuality, hand over the autonomy of your body and everything to these globalists so they can take care of you. I mean, that's what we all have to do, right? At least that's what they're telling us to do. I mean, maybe not specifically telling us that, but if you read between the lines, if you see the stuff that they're pushing, their narratives, that is what they're saying. That's why you need to be as independent as possible. The more that you are tethered to the system, the more that you're dependent upon anything, really any kind of system, the more that you're weakened by that. And when it goes down, you could go down with it. Now, we are all tethered to the system, okay? I'm not blinded by that. I get it. We are all tethered to it. What you have to do is start building systems in your own home, your family, your homestead, and then within your community so that when things start falling apart, you're not in such a vulnerable position that your only alternative to not surviving is to run off and beg for mercy and help from the big government. You know, go live in the concentration camp, go live in your FEMA camp, the little module, you know, all those ones we saw during the pandemic down in Australia and a few other places. You know, go live in your little closed off little module. Well, they'll deliver your bug, juice and bug powder, bug protein powder, and genetically modified everything. I know Travis sounds a little crazy today, but it's really not that far off from the truth. That's what the smart cities are all about. In fact, I don't remember where, but I saw a little newsreel. It's a recent one. It's one that's new of some town that's built it's a neighborhood. It's not a whole town, but they've built this neighborhood complex. And basically it's a smart city. No vehicles are allowed. It's all, walkways, and there's little open market areas. It's all really nice looking. I'll admit it. It's very nice looking. And, you have the little apartment complexes, and down below, you've got all these businesses. So you don't need to go anywhere. You don't need a vehicle, anything like that. Everything you need is right there within just a few minutes walk. That's how they want people to live. They want people to be confined to a small area and limited in what they have. The people that are ruling everything, they control what you have. This is part of their plan. I'm not making it up. You can go and you can do your own research, which you should be. You shouldn't be watching anyone, myself or anyone else, and just believing everything that they say. You should be doing your own research. It's like a preacher I once heard. Don't just sit there in the pew and believe what the preacher is telling you is coming out of the Bible. You need to pick up the Bible yourself, look up those scriptures, and read them for yourself to make sure that it's correct. And so it's the same way with me. Don't just believe what I say or what some other YouTuber says. Do the research yourself and see for yourself that this is in fact what they're trying to do, what they're pushing for. And so, all of this potential war, World War III, we're on the brink of it. Everyone's wanting to annihilate each other. There's talk of nukes more so than probably during the Cold War even, because it's more than just the United States and Russia now. It's several other countries that are on board with their nukes and the possibility of having more. I mean, they're even talking about putting nukes in Poland and Lithuania or Latvia or one of those Eastern European countries. They're talking about putting nukes there. Talk about putting nukes up in either Sweden or the Netherlands, all these different places. There's been talks of, well, we could put nukes here and there. And, North Korea has more nukes, and Iran they either have a bunch or they're on the verge of having a bunch. That's all we're hearing talked about now. And it's because they're trying to drum up the fear. I guess the pandemic didn't create as much fear as they wanted. And so now we've got to do this. And they want people to be afraid. They want things to be chaotic. They want people to feel like they're desperate for anything, because when people are desperate, they will accept anything. You know, if you're desperate and starving, or you're desperate because you have no shelter and you're cold, and you're desperate because you're terrified that the crime rate and the violence is going to overwhelm you, then you'll be willing to do just about anything to have that meal and that warm place to sleep and a little bit of safety. And so that's why we're seeing the hundreds of thousands of people being led into this country every month. Why? Because they want to cause a breakdown of our system. And it's working. It's working in cities all across America. And so we have to be prepared for that. That's why I've advocated for a very, very long time for folks like you and I to be as independent as we can, to learn how to grow our own food, to learn how to do without. I mean, I would rather live primitive without any electricity, have to live, kind of the old ways, than to go live in their smart cities and their little confined concentration camps. And it may get to the point that that's the only choice. I don't know. I know that's very extreme. I get it. But at this point, with all of the talk, the various talk about all the stuff that's going on and the things that really are going on, the things that we don't know what's going on, I think we at least have to entertain what we would do in an extreme situation. It may not happen. We can hope and pray that it doesn't happen. But we have to realize that it very well could happen. And the closer we get to the 2030 big day of completely resetting the whole world, which is what they're trying to do, we know that there's a greater and greater chance of these things actually happening. And that's not too far off, folks. Don't kid yourself. We're talking less than 6 years away. And so, over the next 2 to 3 years, I suspect things are going to get worse and worse and worse, more chaotic, so that we can get to that point that everyone, or at least most people, are begging. They're begging. That's what they want. I mean, look at COVID. They started off telling you that, oh, there was nothing to it. Don't worry about it. Go to your Chinese restaurants, get out and have fun. It's okay. And then the next thing that they were terrifying everyone that we're all going to start falling over dead. And it instilled enough fear in the beginning that most people bought into it. Most people were terrified of it. Businesses, schools, hospitals, everything shut down. And then afterwards, when people started realizing that, the solution was more deadly than the problem, things started changing. And so that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to terrify and terrorize everyone to the point that you're willing to just give in and give up, just so that you can have a little bit of sanity and a little bit of comfort and a little bit of security. We have to not allow ourselves to get to that point. We need to be preparing in a way not to just ride out a rough spell, but preparing in a way so that we can live outside of their system. Build our communities strong so that the communities around us, the neighborhoods and communities around us, we don't need that outside help. We'll figure out how to do it on our own. That's how it used to be. This is not some radical idea. It was not that long ago, a few decades at most, that most of American communities were that way. Most American communities were pretty self-sufficient. It wasn't really until after World War II that American communities and small towns and stuff started becoming more and more dependent upon, national trade within the nation and international trade, and dependent upon a greater system. So as human beings, we've lived far longer under a system where each individual community was pretty much autonomous on its own. And we just need to get back to that. We need to build relationships with people and figure out how that we can exist and survive in a failing system without that system. Because we don't want to go down with the ship on this one, folks. It's looking pretty nasty. We need to be getting our houses in order and preparing ourselves mentally, physically, and spiritually. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.